right? It is to discover our own strengths. Only when you fight, when you face the challenges, then only you will know what are your strengths. Okay, there are great people have born today, date 5th October. In 1882, the inventor of the first liquid fuel rocket, Robert H. Goddard. So he was born on that day. So he successfully launched his rocket on March 16, 1926, ushering in an era of spaceflight and innovation. He and his team launched 34 rockets between 1926 and 1941, achieving altitudes as high as 2.6 kilometers and speeds as fast as 885 kilometers per hour. So such is the achievement of this fellow. And his 1919 monograph, A Method of Reaching Extreme Altitudes, is considered one of the classic texts of 20th century rocket science. Okay, so, and some more Nobel laureates are there. One Nobel laureate in economics, Reinhard Selten, right? He got it with sharing with Nash, John Nash. I think if you know, anybody knows, heard about this name, John Nash? Who is that? There is a biopic of him. Anybody knows that? Yeah, very good. There is a biopic, A Beautiful Mind. Yeah, nice. Akshay, good. Okay. So with John Nash, this fellow has taken the Nobel Prize, and he is also well known for his work on bounded rationality. Okay, we don't know much about this economics and other things. So there is another Nobel laureate in physiology or medicine, and he is Peyton Rouse. And he was involved in discovery of the role of viruses in transmission of certain types of cancer. And he was awarded a Nobel Prize. Okay, so we'll start the 20th class. And in the last class, we have discussed about reciprocating compressor without clearance volume and with clearance volume. And we defined volumetric efficiency and also what are the factors that affect the volumetric efficiency like clearance ratio and delivery pressure. And we have seen what is the need for multi-staging. And then we have discussed about broad classification of thermal machines. And okay, here I will reiterate what I have done because I have done in so many pages, but everything I tried to put it in a single page. Maybe the letters may be small, but everything contains in it. Okay, so this is the broad classification of machines. We have work absorbing machines, which involve pumps and compressors, and work producing machines, which involves IC engines and turbines. And in work absorbing machines, we have incompressible flow machines and compressible flow machines. And these involve pumps and these involve compressors. And in the incompressible flow machine and compressible flow machine, it is classified into positive displacement machines and turbo machines. Here also positive displacement and turbo machines. And in the positive displacement, we have reciprocating pumps and there are rotary pumps. I told you these are different to turbo machines. Okay, though these are also rotary, these are rotary. Okay, so rotary pumps, there are gear pump, vane pump, screw pump like this. And reciprocating pumps, we have single acting and double acting pumps based on how many sites we are having the delivery. And so by before going further, we will see each difference. Okay, incompressible flow machine and in compressible flow machine. And so it is based on the type of flow, but not the type of fluid. Okay, so here important thing. Anybody note what are the incompressible fluids? Any incompressible fluid? Yeah, that's right. Actually, there is no incompressible fluid. It is an ideal fluid. Inviscid fluid and incompressible fluids are ideal fluids. But the flow can be incompressible based on the variation of density. Okay. So if you see this compressible versus incompressible, when can simpler incompressible equations be used? Because if you see equations, why we assume some flow to be incompressible is because one variable can be reduced, which is density, right? So in incompressible flows, density change is negligible or insignificant. It is less than 10%. If the density change is less than 10%, I can ignore the variation in the density. And fans airflow through packed beds, and many times, okay, usually liquids, we feel that they are incompressible. Okay, so usually they are incompressible, but there are cases where liquids work and compressibility significant. So it is case of like hydraulic press. Okay, so where the pressures are very high, due to large range of pressures, the densities change. At that time, liquids or oils, right, like oil, water, or whatever it is, they have to be considered as compressible, and I have to consider the density changes. At the same time, many times people feel that air is compressible, and you cannot treat air as incompressible. It's not like that. It is based on the velocities of the flows. Okay, if the velocities of flows are less than Mach number 0.3, Mach number means velocity of the fluid by velocity of the sound. If this Mach number is less than 0.3, we assume the flow to be incompressible. Though the working fluid is gas or air, right, I can consider the flow to be incompressible because the density variations are very small. Okay, if you see, suppose I'm taking a car going by 100 kmph. Okay, a car going by 100 kilometers per hour, if you see, convert into meters per second by dividing by 3.6, it is around 28 meters per second. So if you see the Mach number, because 28 by the velocity of sound is 330, right? So the Mach number is around 0.08. Okay, it is so small. And even if you get race cars like things which may go to 200 kmph and 300 kmph, so even if it goes by 300 kmph, it is 84 meters per second. And if you find out the Mach number, it is 0.25, which is less than 0.3. So many times even flow over an aircraft also can be considered to be incompressible as long as the Mach number is less than 0.3. But if you consider warplanes and supersonic aircrafts, those cases, you have to consider the effects of compressibility, and you have to consider the flow to be compressible. Okay. So here, that is the difference between incompressible flow machines and compressible flow machines. If the Mach number is less than 0.3, any flow is incompressible. Okay, and that is pump. Whatever we use, they are pumps, and these are compressors. And positive displacement and turbo machine. Okay, so I was talking. Okay, these are positive displacement machines. Okay, I told you one is reciprocating type compressor, reciprocating compressor. This is suction chamber. So the suction, this valve opens in and this valve opens out. So when it is going down, there will be suction created, and this valve gets opened to inside and it enters and it goes down. And when it is trying to move up, this will be, both will be closed. Okay. So, and initially some distance it gets compressed till the pressure inside reaches the delivery side pressure. So if I compress it further, it gets open and it will be pushed into the higher pressure side. Okay, that is the way the reciprocating compressor works. So it is positive displacement, means positively contained in a closed container. Okay, for some time it is positively closed in a closed boundary. Okay, so that is called as positive displacement compressor. There are other things like gear pump, vane pump, screw pump, like that. If you see here, so it comes suction side, it is entering here, and these two gears, they are tangled to each other, they move, and one this direction and one in this direction. So here there will be some fluid gets trapped here, and it will be pushed this way, and it is thrown outside. So it is the increase in pressure only is due to back pressure, because it is pushed onto the back's high pressure side, its pressure increases, right? It is not here, there is both. Okay, I am compressing it and also pushing it to the high pressure side, that is back pressure. Okay, and the same way there is a vane compressor. This is called as vane compressor or vane blower, and here it enters this side. Here you can see there is large area, and it gets pushed into this side, and it is compressed here and then pushed into the high pressure side. Okay, there is compression and also due to back pressure. Okay, and screw pump also in the same way, the air enters here, and the compressor pushes this, and it comes this way. Okay, due to back pressure, it just slides over the screw thing and it comes out. Okay, these are positive displacement things, and these are turbo machines like centrifugal compressor and axial compressor, which you are going to study in turbo machines. Okay, and we will discuss what are the differences between these two compressors also. Okay, initially we will see, okay, this is two-stage and a reciprocating compressor, okay, which you will see in cycle shops, as I told. There are two cylinders. Okay, one is low pressure cylinder, another is high pressure cylinder. Okay, so only thing you have to understand, somebody asks which is the HPC and which is LPC. Always smaller one is HPC, bigger one is LPC, because at low pressure the volume occupies more space, and so it is larger cylinder. After the compression in the first stage, it gets compressed and its volume gets reduced, and my second cylinder will be very small. So that's why actually if you have more number of stages, the latter stages will be very small and the overall weight will be less. If you have a single cylinder, it will be huge, and its thickness and materials are cost, and it's costly, right? So that's what I was talking about, difference between single stage and multi-stage. Okay, if you see the difference between rotary compressors and reciprocating air, that is turbo machines, okay? Turbo machines and reciprocating air compressors. If you see, the pressure ratios are very high in reciprocating compressors. In the turbo machines, the pressure ratios are very low, and up to 10 bar it can deliver, and here up to 1000 bar it can deliver. And always, as I told, the discharge and the pressure are inversely related. High pressures means low flows, low pressures means high flows. So here in turbo machines, the flows are very large, 3000 meter cube per minute, but pressures are low, 10 bar. Here, up to 300 meter cube per minute only, but up to 1000 bar. And these are high speed machines because it is a rotary one and directly coupled to the motor, and it runs at very high speeds, but these speeds are very low. And here it is continuous supply of air, as I told, steady flow machine. Here it is not continuous. And because of that, I have to have a large reservoir, which I have shown here. This is the reservoir. Okay, this large reservoir is there in which I have to store the high pressure compressor, so that whenever it is needed, I use it using this valve. Okay, so it is so heavy, and just like this size, I can have a compressor, centrifugal compressor, rotor and motor of the same size. And so because in reciprocating compressor, there will be reciprocation converted to rotary motion through crank and connecting rod, all those things. So the balancing problem is there, vibration problem is there, lubrication problem is there, noise problem is there. All those things will come in reciprocating compressors. So here there is no balancing problem, no lubrication problem, no noise, and it is very lightweight, and initial cost is low. And so all these things, air is some other gas, air or some other gas is the working fluid. Here pressurized stream, anything is the working fluid. Okay, this is the way the rotary and reciprocating will be done. Okay, that is the difference between here rotary pumps, gear pumps, vane pumps, screw pumps, and in turbo machine, centrifugal compressor and axial compressor. Again, I tell, don't get confused with rotary. Here, there it is written rotary, but that is wrong. Okay, so this is not rotary air compressor. It is a turbo machine, turbo compressor. Okay, and rotary compressor means it is positive displacement only, which are gear pump, vane pump, and screw pump, which I have shown. Okay, in the same way, in compressible flow machines, when you come, again I have positive displacement in turbo machine. In positive displacement, I have reciprocating and rotary type. Here, instead of gear pump, there is another name called roots blower. Similarly, here vane pump, here vane compressor, here screw pump, here screw compressor, because compressible effects are more. And in the reciprocating, we have single acting, double acting, And in both of them, I can have single stage and multi-stage. And when you come to turbo machines, I can have open machine or closed machine. And open machine, I already told fan or propeller. And closed system, I have fans, blowers, and compressors. And we can see the difference between fans, blowers, and compressors here, right? So I told you fans are low pressure, and blowers are for medium pressure, and compressors are for high pressure. Again, low pressure means large flows, medium pressure, medium flows, and here high pressure, low flows. Okay, when you have high pressure and low flows, I can go for compressors or reciprocating compressor, whatever it is, or centrifugal, axial, or still higher pressure means reciprocating compressors. You can see here up to 0.04 atmosphere order fans, and up to 2 atmospheres blowers, greater than 2 atmosphere to several thousand atmospheres compressors. And so if it is order of several thousand like that, then I have to go for reciprocating type. Okay, that is the way that this side is classified. Okay, coming to the work producing machines, I have turbo machines and positive displacement. So in positive displacement machines, I have again reciprocating and rotary. Reciprocating IC engines, you know it, SI engine and CI engine. In both SI engine means petrol engine or Otto cycle. CI engine means diesel engine or working in diesel cycle. Okay, and both of them can be having 2-stroke engines and 4-stroke engines. Okay, so here we can see them actually, and this difference also. Yeah, here this also we will see the difference between centrifugal and axial flow compressor. Okay, so centrifugal compressor, it cannot have multi-staging. This can have multi-staging. Okay, just flow can enter like this and leave like this. But here the flow enters here and leaves like this. If I want to have another one, another compressor, it has to turn like this, enter here like this. It has to come like this. So multi-staging is very difficult and complex, and normally it is used only single stage. So for small machines, we use centrifugal compressor. For large machines, for large pressure ratios, I use. For a single stage, this pressure ratio is more and this pressure ratio is less. But when many stages are there, the overall pressure ratio is quite large. Okay, and these are used in industries usually, and these are used in aircraft turbines. Okay, engine type, small engine, centrifugal, large engine, axial. Mass flow is very small and pressure ratios are very high. And here mass flows are large, pressure ratios are less here. You can see 5 to 7 pressure ratio, here low 1.5. And as I told, if it is more than 7, I have to go for multi-stage axial compressor. Single stage, it is low pressure, but multi-stage, high pressures, you have to use axial compressors. And efficiency is low here, efficiency is high here. And so fixing and manufacturing is easy. Here it is not easy because I have so many blades to be manufactured. These are aerofoil type cross section. It is very costly and tedious process, and it's axial flow compressors are expensive. This is cheap and wider operating range. Operating range also is wide here, and here operating range is low. Any small variation in the mass flow and all, it gets unstable. Okay, so that is about centrifugal and axial compressors. And coming to SI engine and CI engine, okay, these things we have discussed in the BME class. And here SI engines are for petrol engines and CI engines are diesel engines. Okay, what is the main difference in the construction? I will have spark plug here. That's why it's called spark ignition. And after compression, the spark is given and it burns. And here there is nothing like spark. And here I get both air fuel mixture into the cylinder. So I will have a carburetor here in which air and fuel are mixed, air and petrol are mixed, and that is pushed into this. So mixture comes to into the cylinder. And after compression, there will be spark and the burning takes place. This is spark ignition. And in the CI engine, only air enters here. And after the compression, here we inject the fuel. We inject the fuel. And because after compression, the temperatures are very high and it auto ignites. It burns by itself after the compression. This is called compression ignition engine. Okay, this is the main difference. So the parts are different. Here I will have carburetor, spark plug. Here fuel is, because when it is high pressure, I have to inject fuel, means I should pump it. So I have to have the oil compressed at high pressure. At high pressure, I have to push it. So I should have fuel pump and injector. Okay, so that is the main construction difference. So we will see the spark ignition and CI ignition. So it draws fuel air mixture into the cylinder, spark ignition. It draws only air into the cylinder. And petrol engines operate with low pressure and temperature. These operate at high pressure and temperature. You can see the ranges of pressure 6 to 12, here 35 to 40, and 250 to 300, 600 to 700 degrees centigrade. And because of this, though petrol cycle, the Otto cycle and diesel cycle, if the pressures are same, then Otto cycle is more efficient. But here pressures are very high, that's why diesel engines are more efficient. But because of these high pressure ratios, these are heavy engines and petrol engines are light engines. So petrol engines are used in light vehicles, okay? Like all two-wheelers have petrol engines. And cars also used to be having petrol engines only. Now, recently, in recent years, they are diesel engines they are using, okay? So, and heavy engines like trucks, tractors, and heavy machinery and all, they use only diesel engines. And so here carburetor and spark plug are there, here fuel injection pump and injectors are there. And here constant volume combustion, Otto cycle, constant volume combustion, and diesel cycle, constant pressure combustion. So ignition takes place by the spark and ignition because of high compressed air. And these are quality governing. Quality governing means, so when I press the okay, here this is quantity governing, and the speed of petrol engines are controlled by varying the quantity of air fuel mixture. Okay, and this is wrong. Please correct it. This is quantity governing. This is quality governing. And when I press the accelerator or raise the accelerator, more mixture goes into the cylinder. Quantity changes. The quantity of the mixture that is going into the cylinder changes. This is quantity governing. Here in diesel engines, when I increase or decrease the accelerator, amount of fuel changes. Air is same, goes into the cylinder, but how much fuel I supply, it changes. So air fuel mixture quality gets changed. Okay, so I can have rich mixture or weak mixture. So quality is changed. So here there is a small mistake. So petrol engines are very widely used in automobiles and aeroplanes, and diesel engines are for heavy like buses, lorries, and trucks, etc. This is SI engine and CI engine difference. Yeah. And within CI and SI engines, again, we have two-stroke engines and four-stroke engines. So this also you have studied, and again, we just a comparison, because these are very important for your written tests or interviews or any entrance examinations that you write. So such things are very important. So four-stroke engine, there will be suction, there will be compression, and there will be a power stroke or expansion stroke, and there will be exhaust stroke. There are 4 strokes happen in a cycle. So each upward and downward movement, 1 revolution of the crank takes place. 1 revolution, 2 strokes. So it takes 2 revolutions for getting 1 power stroke. Okay, so that's why in all these, only in this has to take the power. So I should have a flywheel which stores energy by inertia and supplies in the other strokes, and the remaining power only we get. Okay, so 4-stroke engine will have large flywheel. In 2-stroke engine, there will be valves, and which makes the construction complex. And here there will be ports, right? In 2-stroke engine, just there will be ports. And during suction and exhaust takes place at the same time. So when it is going down, there will be air fuel mixture trapped here in the crankcase. It gets pressed and it is pushed into this. And when it is coming down, the sum of the air fuel mixer goes out also. Exhaust also is open now. Both are open. And when it is going up, this is closed and then it gets closed and some mixer is trapped here, which is compressed. And then you can give spark or inject the fuel, whatever it is, okay, depending on whether SI engine or CI engine. And when it is burnt, it expands. When it is expanding, when the piston uncovers this port, so exhaust gases goes this side. And when it comes down completely, then the new mixer enters here. Okay, this is the way in 2 strokes, it completes the whole suction, delivery, exhaust, and suction, exhaust, power, and compression. Okay, all the 4 takes place in just 2 strokes. That is, in 1 revolution, there is 1 power stroke. And but here we are going to lose some fuel or mixture that is going out. So that's why efficiency is low here. Here efficiency is very high, but this is very heavy and this is very light. Okay, all 2-stroke engines are light, and so all 2-wheelers we have 2-stroke engines, but all heavy vehicles will have 4-stroke engines. Okay, so that is the way the difference is. You can see here, 4-stroke engine completes 1 cycle in 2 revolutions. Here 1 cycle in 1 revolution, and power is produced once in 4 strokes. Here once in 2 strokes. And here engine design is complicated because of the valves, operation of the valves. You will have camshaft and all those things. Here 2-stroke, there are ports only, which makes its design simpler. And no need to adding oil or lubricating oil. Here lubrication will be less. Here what happens is lubrication is more because here temperatures are very high, right? And the oil, it cannot withstand those high temperatures, and I have to supply more lubrication in 2-stroke engines. And here top side of the piston is flat. Here you can see it is flat, and here this figure is wrong actually. Here there will be something, a hill-like thing will be there, so that it goes up and the suction, it sweeps and comes out. Okay, this is what is called as scavenging. It pushes all the burnt gases out by scavenging it. Okay, so actually this is not flat because the figure, it is difficult to draw. We have drawn it flat, but here there will be a curvature here. And so 4-stroke engines are heavy and 2-stroke engines are lighter, and these give less noise and these give more noise. 2-stroke engines give more noise. Okay, this is about 4-stroke and 2-stroke engines. Now coming to the turbo machine side, I have incompressible, which are hydraulic turbines, which you are going to study, as I told, in fluid mechanics, Pelton turbines, Francis turbines, and Kaplan turbines. And coming to compressible, I have closed machines and open machines. So you people only told the open machine there is a windmill, and closed machines, I can have single phase machines and 2-phase machines. Single phase machines are gas turbines and 2-phase machines are steam turbines. And in steam turbines, which you have studied in your BME, we have impulse turbine, impulse reaction, and reaction turbine. And reaction turbines are called Hero turbines. Impulse reaction turbines are called Parsons reaction turbine. And impulse, I can have single stage and compounding. Compounding means multi-stage. And single stage turbines are called de-Laval turbines. And in compounding, we have velocity compounding, pressure compounding, velocity pressure compounding. Velocity compounding are called Curtis turbines. Pressure compounding turbines are called Ratu turbines. And in gas turbine side, now I think you are studying about various Brayton cycle. Here Brayton cycle is used, and for steam turbines, Rankine cycle is used. For petrol engines, Otto cycle. For diesel engines, diesel cycle. Okay. In the Brayton cycle, we will have various improvements like having interpolar reheater, heat exchanger, or combined cycle. Okay, so these are various variations of gas turbine cycle which you are going to study in turbo machines. Okay, this is the broad classification of machines. Here some more figures also we can see. So this we have seen, this we have seen, this we have seen. And okay, IC engine for a big one, V12. V12 means here there are some cylinders, 6 cylinders on this side, 6 cylinders on this side, arranged like a V. There are total 12 engines. So for heavy machineries, so these types are used. And gas turbine engine, which is normally used in aircrafts and all. So this is like this. We'll have suction. Here, these are compressor stages. All these are compressor stages. Here there will be combustion chamber, and here there are turbines, and here this is a nozzle in which expansion takes place, and this is a jet engine. You will get the aircraft moving this way. Okay. And if you see the difference between IC engine and gas turbine, again, this is like positive displacement, and this is turbo machine. All those differences come here also. It is heavy. The weight per HP developed is greater. It is lighter, right? And ignition and lubrication systems are complicated. Here it is simple because I don't need any lubrication because it is rotating one. And exhaust pollutions are more. Here exhaust pollution is less because it is in the outer atmosphere. It won't be a big problem also. And thermal efficiency is high. Here thermal efficiency is low. Okay, this you will study in gas turbines. Why it is low means compressor takes almost 60% of the work developed by the turbine. And also exhaust temperatures are very high. The gases leaving will be at high temperatures. That's why the efficiencies of Brayton cycle are less. And people have tried to increase the efficiency by using the exhaust gases for some better purpose. Or sometimes you can generate steam and you can have a steam turbine also run by that. So which is called as combined cycle. Gas turbine, exhaust runs the steam turbine, and so it will have what is called as combined cycle. Efficiencies are very high. But leave alone one gas turbine, it will be having less efficiency. And here fuel cost is high. I can use cheaper fuels here in the gas turbines. And here work developed per kg of air is less. Here work developed, and these are high speed machines. Turbo machines are high speed. And so here flywheel is needed for IC engine. We already discussed. And here no flywheel. That's why it is heavy and this is light. Okay. And so these are the main differences. And you can have turbo machines itself. I have gas turbine and steam turbine. Okay. So gas turbine and steam turbines are mainly used in power plants. And gas turbines also now they are used. Now all thermal power plants, they use gas turbine and also steam turbine. As I told, using this exhaust, if I can run the steam turbine. Okay. But all old power plants, they are only steam turbine power plants. And if you see again, compare these two, here gases are the working fluid, here steam is the working fluid. Here main component are compressor or combustor, and this is boiler and accessories. And running cost is less and starts quickly. Running cost is, it is wrong. Running cost is high because very huge boilers and other things will be there. Running cost is high. And its efficiency is less, its efficiency is more because Rankine cycle efficiency is more. As I told, if you see the compressor in the gas turbine, here pump in the steam turbine. Pump requires very less work because it is incompressible, liquid is used. And gas turbine compressor, which occupies large volume, big compressor, so it takes more amount of work. That's why its efficiency, gas turbine efficiency is less. And the mass of gas turbine is less. Mass of gas, I think there are the mistakes here. Here it is gas turbine, it is steam turbine. Steam turbine is heavy because I will have large boiler, large condenser and all those things. And here it depends on water supply. Here doesn't depend on water supply because it needs large amount of air, okay, for condenser and also for generating the steam. And then we have impulse and reaction turbines. This also you will study in turbo machines in detail. Okay. The main difference, the shape of the blade. Okay. Here shape of the blade is symmetric or bucket type. Here shape of the blade is aerofoil type. And that's why it is costly and this is cheaper. And because this is aerofoil, the symmetric type, there will not be any change of pressure or velocity across the turbine. Only the conversion takes place in the nozzle. Nozzle comes and hits the blades. That's why it is impulse. Okay. So in impulse turbine, all the change in of pressure energy to kinetic energy takes place only in the nozzle. And here there is no change in the change of pressure or velocity in the rotor. Okay. All change here. Here stator and rotor both will be there. Here expansion takes place and here also expansion takes place. And here, if you see, all the pressure is converted to kinetic energy. Kinetic energy increase, pressure energy decrease, and it remains constant across the rotor. But here, there will be pressure decrease in the stator and also pressure decrease in the rotor, right? So this is the way it happens. That is the difference between impulse and reaction. But reaction turbines are costly but more efficient. Impulse turbines are cheaper but less efficient. And the blades are symmetrical, blades are asymmetrical, means not symmetrical. Pressure on both ends are same, pressures are different on both sides because expansion takes place both in the rotor and stator. And the blade efficiency is less flat and it is more flat. Here, if you draw efficiency curve, it will be hill-like thing, peak for impulse turbine, and it will be flat over the top. Okay, so the range of operation is wider for reaction turbine. Okay, propeller and windmill, just I wanted to show this open type turbo machines, right? So this is work absorbing, this is work producing, okay? And another thing I wanted to show is Wankel rotary engine, okay, rotor engine, Wankel engine as I told. Here there is one rotor will be there. Here there will be inlet and this is exhaust. So here air fuel mixer like petrol engine, if you suppose air petrol mixture, it enters here. So this is suction, okay, this is empty. Now when it is rotating, it pushes into this, okay. So volume gets reduced and there is compression, right? So when it comes here, complete compression and there is a spark given and it starts expanding, okay. So it pushes this side and there will be rotation and this is power stroke, okay. So it happens. And after that, this once it peak moves over this, exhaust gets open and it goes into the exhaust. So all the 4 strokes, okay, suction here, compression here, power here, and exhaust here, all takes place in one revolution, in with one gesture. So there will not be any valves also operating. It is so simple, so cheap, and so light, high speed. All those advantages are there. But here it is found because this is very sharp edge here. It gets worn out and there will be leakage, right? Leakage from high pressure side to low pressure side, which reduces the efficiency very fast. And the life of it is very small. Okay, this is about all the classification. So any questions, because so many things I have talked about, you have to be familiar. You go through all the slides, you go through the differences. If you want to have any thermal engineering book, thermal engineering, there are so many books, one by Balani, one Madhur Mehta, and Ratan, and so many authors are there. Any thermal engineering book, if you take, you can get all these tables. Okay, back pressure means delivery pressure. There is nothing else difference. The suction side and delivery side. Suppose receiver is there, that reservoir, as I told in reciprocating compressor, it is pushing into the reservoir. Reservoir pressure is very high. That is back pressure. So it is pushing the fluid into the high pressure reservoir. So the increase in the pressure is due to the pushing into the high pressure side. High delivery pressure is the back pressure. Is it okay? So you go through all the tables, all the differences, right? Any doubt you can ask me anytime. Okay, that is about this. Again, we'll switch back to our compressor, right? So we have seen compressor, and I told you isothermal work, isentropic work, polytropic work. We have seen the expressions, and isothermal work is small, and we define what is called as isothermal efficiency. Isothermal efficiency is isothermal work by actual work. That is isothermal efficiency, okay? And okay, this is what we have seen the expression without clearance volume. This is this, and with clearance volume, this P1 is replaced by V1 minus V4. So the actual suction volume, and because suction volume gets reduced with the clearance, we have defined what is called as volumetric efficiency, which is a function of clearance ratio and the pressure ratio. And we have seen how it changes as the pressure ratio increase. So this expansion, it comes like this. So the suction volume gradually reduces as the pressure increase. Similarly, if the clearance is increasing, so the lines initially the small clearance, it comes like this. As the clearance volume increase, here suction volume gets reduced. And that's why we go for what is called as multi-staging. Multi-staging, when you have, I can use this advantage of using intercooling. Okay, so between the stages, if I can reduce the temperature of the fluid, I can reduce the volume of it and reduce the work required for compression. Okay, that is the advantage of using this. So which reduces this much of work and also increases the volumetric efficiency. If it is a single stage, this is the volume of air sucked or delivered, and from here to here, this much is the volume that is taken in. So I will have more amount of air supplied. That's a high volumetric efficiency. So volumetric efficiency is high, work is reduced, and the overall weight also I told, because low pressure compressor will be a bit large and it will be very still small, and it will be very small. So the overall weight can be reduced. And lubrication maintaining is easy because the temperature everywhere I am cooling it. Okay, so the lubrication oil stands like a film. Okay, and also it gives uniform torque because all are producing power. All are rotated, and the suction and delivery will be there in every time, right? In each revolution, there will be more number of cylinders sucking and delivering, so it will be more balanced, and there will be uniform torque. And so if I have a multi-stage compression with intercooling, okay, so here we have taken 2 stages. And so here in the first stage, it is sucked here and it is compressed and it is delivered. I think I didn't show it. So with clearance, it comes like this. Okay. If this is the clearance volume, so this goes like this, and this goes. Okay, this is the way it goes. Okay, the first. Okay, first stage it goes like this and goes like this in this way, and the second stage it comes like this. Okay, so here because of the intercooling, it is cooled to this, and so it the whole one, it goes like this, comes like this, and then it goes like this. And if I have a isothermal compression, it will be a single line like this. So the temperature along this line is constant. So here, after the first compression, it is cooled to this. Okay, it is cooled to this point. Okay, so first stage compression is from P1 to an intermediate pressure Px. Okay, and from 1 to A, it is compressed from 1 to A, P1 to Px. So maybe PV power n equal to constant. So intercooling at constant pressure at Px to the temperature from A to B, it is reduced. Okay, so that is, its temperature is actually a bit high after compression, but because of intercooling, it comes to the original temperature. And so from second stage compression, Px to P2, that is this pressure to this pressure, is from B to 2. Okay, B to 2 like this. Okay, so this is this compression. And so I have this much of area that is saved. Okay, if I have a single stage, it would have compressed like this. And now the area that is between this y-axis and this, it is reduced by this much amount. So that is shared area, work saved in polytropic compression and intercooling. And now if you see the compressor work, the first compressor work, nRT1 by n minus 1 into Px by P1. Here pressure ratio is Px by P1 to the power of n minus 1 by n minus 1. Plus here, this nRTB I have to give, right? But TB is equal to T1. This is isothermal line. Okay, so n naught T1 by n minus 1. Here pressure ratio is P2 by Px to the power of n minus 1 by n minus 1. This is first stage compressor. This is second stage compressor. Because this is common, I can take n naught T1 by n minus 1 common. I am going to get Px by P1 to the power of n minus 1 minus P2 by Px to the power of n minus 1 by n minus 2. Okay. So this is this. And if I want to find out what is the optimum delivery pressure, what is Px? So whether I should take here or here, which way I have to divide this total pressure. So for that, I have to find out what is optimum Px. So for that, I differentiate this with respect to Px. And I take n minus 1 by n as some a. So Px by P1 to the power of a minus P2 by Px to the power of a, I have to differentiate because this will become 0 and equal to 0 means this goes to 0. So only this thing if I take. So differentiating this, Px power a by P1 to the power of minus a okay, and P2 power a and Px power minus a. Okay, this is the expression. Now I differentiate it. So Px power a, if I differentiate a into Px to the power of a minus 1. And P1 power minus a, this is constant. And here P2 power a is constant and Px power minus a. So minus a into Px power minus a minus 1. So this is equal to 0. If I take minus as equal to and take it to the other side and divide both sides and bring Px to the one side. So Px power a minus 1 by Px power minus a minus 1 is equal to P2 power a into P1 power minus a if it goes to the other side, P1 power a. So P1 power a, P2 power a. So this, if you see, it is Px square minus, right? And is equal to P1, P2. So Px is equal to root P1, P2. This is what we will see. That is the geometric mean of this suction pressure and delivery pressure is the optimum intermediate pressure. Okay, what it means is, if Px square is equal to P1, P2, Px by P1 is P2 by Px. Means the pressure ratio of this cylinder is equal to pressure ratio of this cylinder, which is the root of P2 by P1. Means the work required for this and also work required for this will be same because Px by P1 is same as P2 by Px. Okay, so Wc1 is equal to Wc2. So Wc is 2 times this. Okay, so 2 into n naught T1 by n minus 1. I have to take stage pressure ratio. I have to take Px by P1 or P2 by Px. But if I want to take P2 by P1 overall pressure ratio, I have to take by 2. Okay, so this is the way. And if I write it in general way for n stages, capital N by n minus 1 or T1 to the power of P2 by T1 to the power of n minus 1 by capital N minus 1. Okay, this is the way it comes. Okay, this the number of stages. If it is 2 stages, it is root of this actually, P2 by P1 root. And if it is 3 stages, it will be 1/3 cubed root, like that it will be. Okay, in this way. If I write only stage pressure ratio, that is Px by P1, then it will be only n minus 1 by n only. But if I want to write overall pressure ratio here, then this capital N will come. Okay, so that is the way it works. So we will see a small problem. Quickly. A 2-stage single-acting air compressor takes in air at 1 bar and 27 degrees centigrade at the rate of 5 kg per minute. Okay, another thing you remember, whenever you solve a problem, right? If mass flow is not there, okay, change in enthalpy, change in entropy, those things you can find out per unit mass flow. But by any chance mass flow is given, if you are asked to find out change in entropy or those things, you have to multiply by mass flow. Don't forget that. Otherwise, your answers will not match. Okay. So the total change is different, specific change is different. Okay. Okay. Here mass flow is given 5 kg per minute. The air is compressed to a final pressure of 16 bar. So I am given T1 300 degree Kelvin and mass flow, here it is given, and pressure is given 1 bar, and the delivery pressure also is given. All these are sufficient. The index of compression and expansion for both stages is 1.3. So in the here, this is per unit mass flow. If I want to have power, I have to multiply by mass flow also. Okay, so here this is power. So mass flow is given, and number of stages it is given 2 stages, and n is given, n by n minus 1, and r is known, T1 is given, and pressure ratio P and P2 and P1 both are given, and everything is given, and just you have to substitute to find out what is the work done, work required. And calculate the power required and isothermal efficiency. So isothermal efficiency, you have to find out isothermal power. Okay, isothermal power, you know it. Okay, so P1 V1 log V2 by V1, or RT1 log V, MRT1 log V2 by V1, or log P1 by P2. So you know P1, P2, and T1 is known. So everything is known, you can find out. And free air delivery, so those things we will see. Okay, so this is the way. So P2 by P1, if I take this, I think I have to clear this. Okay. So pressure ratio in each cylinder is root of the whole pressure ratio, that is 4. And so WLP plus HP is equal to 2n by n minus 1 MRT1. And P2 by P1. Here I am writing the whole pressure ratio, so I am not writing capital N R2 here. Okay, so if I write this P2 by P1 is, that is 4 I am writing here. If I write 16 here, I have to put 2 here. Okay, so 2, N is 1.3, and mass flow kgs per minute is given. I have to convert into kgs per second, and R is 0.287, and T1 is in Kelvin 300. So 4 to the power of n minus 1 is 0.3, and n is 1.3 minus 1. So this is the power that is required, kilowatts. Okay, because I am multiplying by mass flow rate, so I am getting this. Okay, isothermal work MRT1 by into log P6 by P1 means only the overall pressure ratio. I am giving the overall pressure ratio. So MRT1 log P2 by P1, so 19.9 kilowatts. So isothermal efficiency is isothermal work by actual work, it is 84.9%. And free air delivered, here actually it is given somewhere here. If it is not given, I have to take the suction conditions as atmospheric conditions. So MRT by P, M mass flow 5 kgs per minute, into 0.287 R, T is 300, and 1 bar in kilopascals 1 into 10 square. So this is meter cube per minute. This is free air delivered. Okay, so and sometimes you may be asked to find out what is the heat taken by the intercooler, and so you can find out in this stage what is the heat developed if I want to find out. So in the compression, T2 by T1 is P2 by P1 to the power of n minus 1 by n. Because this is polytropic and compression, there will be increase in the temperature. I know both pressures and this temperature. I can find out this temperature. So temperature ratio is equal to pressure ratio to the power of n minus 1 by n. So I will get T2. Right. So MCP into T2 minus T1 is the heat that is lost in the intercooler. Okay. So that is the way. Okay. This MCP into T2 minus T1. Actually, QLP or QHP, that is heat transfer in each cylinder, and intercooler it is asked. This is heat transfer in the intercooler. In the HP cylinder and the LP cylinder, work given minus heat transfer is the so this is the work W 3.44, and whatever is gone into the intercooler, that is if I take MCP T2 minus T1, then this is 9.46 kilowatts. Okay, and the volumetric efficiency you can find out, because if volumetric efficiency is clearance ratio, if C of HP, that is clearance ratio of HP cylinder is 6%, clearance ratio of LP cylinder is 5%, then volumetric efficiency of LP cylinder and HP cylinder separately can be obtained. 1 plus 0.05. For LP cylinder, it is 0.05 minus 0.05, 4 to the power of 1 by 1.3 minus 1. This is 90.5%. For HP cylinder, the clearance ratio is different. If it is not different, both will be same. Okay, just it is to make you know how to find out the volumetric efficiency. Okay, this is about what is multi-stage compression and how to solve a multi-stage air compressor problem. Okay, and if you see in PKNOG, there is a separate chapter on reciprocating compressors, 18th chapter. Okay, 18th chapter in NOG. In PKNOG, there will be gas compressors chapter. Okay, so this you have to go through. And then in the next class, we will see, because already we have discussed about isentropic efficiency of nozzle and turbo machines, right? So this we will go further down, and we will see how to solve a Rankine cycle. So when I have a pump, then I have a turbine, and even Brayton cycle, all those problems we will see in the next class, how to solve different problems. Okay, this is about this. Any questions or doubts? And I don't know, actually today class strength is only half. It is because of assignment. Small n and capital N. Small n is index of polytropic compression or expansion, polytropic index, and capital N is the number of stages. Number of stages. Is it okay? Okay, we will go for the story then. Okay, it's a nice story. A lady in a faded dress and her husband dressed in a homespun suit. Just I will erase this. Okay, a lady in a faded dress and her husband dressed in a homespun suit walked in timidly without an appointment into the Harvard University president's outer office. The secretary could tell in a moment that such backwoods country hicks had no business at Harvard and probably didn't even deserve to be in Harvard. And okay, they said, "We want to see the president." The man said softly, "And he will be busy all day," the secretary snapped. "We will wait," the lady replied. For hours, the secretary just ignored them because they look like poor people and village side people. The secretary didn't bother, hoping that the couple would finally become discouraged and go away. They didn't, and the secretary grew frustrated because such people, if they are in the office, it looks bad. So he finally decided to disturb the president. "And maybe if you see them for a few minutes, they will leave," she said to him. The president, stun-faced and with dignity, strutted toward the couple. And the lady told him, "We had a son who attended Harvard for 1 year. He loved Harvard. He was happy here. But about a year ago, he was accidentally killed. My husband and I would like to erect a memorial to him somewhere on the campus. The president wasn't touched. He was shocked. Madam, he said gruffly, we can't put up a statue for every person who attended Harvard and died. If we did, this place would look like a cemetery. Oh no, the lady explained quickly. We don't want to erect a statue. We thought we would like to give a building to Harvard. The president rolled his eyes. He glanced at the gingham dress and homespun suit and then exclaimed, a building? Do you have any earthly idea how much a building costs? We have over $7.5 million in the physical buildings here at Harvard. For a moment, the lady was silent. The president was pleased. Maybe he could get rid of them now. The lady turned to her husband and said quietly, is that all it costs to start a university? Why don't we just start our own? The husband nodded. The president's face wilted in confusion and bewilderment. Mr. and Mrs. Leland Stanford got up and walked away, traveling to Palo Alto, California, where they established the university that bears their name, Stanford University, a memorial to a son that Harvard no longer cared about. Okay, this is the thing. So by outside appearances, we cannot estimate about the other people, right? Okay, thank you very much. If there is anything else, you can ask. Otherwise, when with reciprocating machines are manufactured, if it has too much problems while using it. Is there any advantage of using reciprocating? I told you reciprocating machines are used when you want very high pressure ratios, right? Turbo machines are for low pressure ratios. And many applications, we use reciprocating compressors. Even in refrigerators, we use reciprocating compressors. We want it to be, so if you, our home refrigerators, they have reciprocating compressors. Okay, then, okay, we'll see you again. We'll see you tomorrow. Not tomorrow, I think tomorrow no class. Day after tomorrow we'll meet. Thank you. You can stop recording.